All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of a thinker so radical, so controversial, that his own community literally banished him for his ideas. We're talking about Baruch Spinoza.
So, let's set the scene. We're in 17th century Amsterdam. Spinoza is this brilliant young man, a total star in the city's Portuguese Jewish community. You know, everyone thinks he's on the fast track to becoming a respected rabbi. But, yeah, that's not exactly what happened.
Imagine this. You're just 23 years old, and then, bam, your community hits you with the most severe excommunication they have ever handed down. We're talking completely cut off. They wanted his name blotted out forever. This wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was basically a spiritual and social death sentence.
So what did he do? Well, that's the thing. The official document just talks about abominable heresies and monstrous deeds. Super vague, right? And that mystery, of course, just made people even more curious. So it begs the question, what could a 23-year-old possibly believe that was that dangerous?
All right, let's get into it. Spinoza's first and probably most explosive idea had to do with God. And look, he wasn't just suggesting a few small changes to theology. No, he took the whole thing, tore it down to the studs, and rebuilt it from scratch. And it all started with one single powerful concept.
Okay, so he starts with this thing he calls substance. Now, trying to think of it like the ultimate building block of reality, the absolute bedrock of everything that exists. It's totally self-sufficient. It doesn't need anything else to exist or to be understood. It just is.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Spinoza says this one single substance has an infinite number of essential qualities, which he calls attributes. Think of it like a diamond with infinite facets. But for us, as humans, we can only see two of those facets. Thought, the world of ideas, consciousness, the mind, and extension, which is just the physical world, everything you can touch and see.
So follow the logic here, because this is the big leap. If there's only one thing that is completely self-sufficient, and that one thing has all these attributes, including everything mental and everything physical, well, what do you call that? Spinoza calls it God, but he also calls it nature. For him, they were just two words for the exact same thing. Deus sive Natura, God or nature.
And this is where he really got into trouble. Just look at the difference here. The traditional view is of a God who is, well, outside of nature, like a king or a CEO, making plans and intervening. Spinoza's God? Nope. God is the universe. God is the unchangeable laws of nature itself. That whole idea that the universe was created just for us, Spinoza called that a superstition, something born out of our own ego and wishful thinking. Okay, so let's pause and think about the implications here. If everything, every rock, every planet, even every one of your thoughts is just a part of this massive, interconnected system called God or nature, then what does that mean for us, for our free will? Are we really in the driver's seat?
Well, according to Spinoza, our belief that we're special is our biggest mistake. We love to think of ourselves as this little dominion within a dominion, as he put it, like we're somehow exempt from the rules of nature. But we're not. He argued that our minds and our bodies are just as much a part of nature and subject to its unbreakable laws as a falling stone or a growing tree.
So what about our emotions? Spinoza had a special term for them, affects or passions. And the key thing here is that he didn't see them as things we choose to feel. Not at all. He saw them as reactions. They're basically confused ideas that happen when something outside of us affects our bodies, well, its power to act, its energy or vitality. Either it goes up or it goes down.
And this is basically how it works. It's a chain reaction, and it's completely determined. Step 1, something out in the world affects you. Step 2, this causes your internal power or energy to go up or down. Step 3, you feel this change as either joy if your power goes up or sadness if it goes down. And then finally, when your mind connects that feeling to whatever caused it, that's where you get love or hate. Notice something? There's no you choosing in this process. It just happens.
And this state, where we're just being yanked around by our emotions, Spinoza has a pretty stark name for it: human bondage. Yeah. We walk around thinking we're so free, making all these choices. Oh, I love this song. I hate that person. But from Spinoza's point of view, we're not really choosing at all. We're more like puppets, and our strings are being pulled by things happening outside of us.
He puts it so poetically here. Like waves on the sea, driven by contrary winds, we toss about, not knowing our outcome and fate. Wow, It's a powerful image, right? Just being thrown around by forces you don't even understand. It's a pretty bleak picture of what it's like to be human, if we're being honest.
But here's the twist. Spinoza isn't just here to tell us we're all puppets. He's not a total pessimist. He actually offers a way out, a path to liberation. So, let's get into a solution, because this is where he flips the whole idea of freedom on its head. So how do we get free? Well, the path out of bondage isn't about trying to break the laws of nature. You can't. That's impossible. The only way out is through understanding. The goal is to shift from being a passive person who just reacts to everything to becoming an active person who actually understands why they're reacting. It's about seeing the strings. And this is the absolute core of it. The moment you use your reason to get a clear picture of why you feel what you feel, to trace that sadness or that joy back to its external cause, something magical happens. The passion, it just stops being a passion. It's no longer this confusing, passive thing that's happening to you. It becomes an active understanding. And for Spinoza, that is true freedom. Acting from a place of knowledge, not just blind reaction.
Now, Spinoza wasn't content to just stop with how individuals can find freedom. He was thinking bigger. He took these incredibly powerful ideas about God, nature, and reason and applied them to the whole shebang: society, religion, politics, everything.
So he writes this book, and it's so scandalous he has to publish it anonymously. And just look at the claims he was making. He says the Bible isn't the literal word of God, but a historical book written by humans. He says the whole point of religion isn't about believing certain things, but just about being a good person, justice and charity. And then, the real kicker. He argues that the most rational and natural form of government is a democracy that fiercely protects everyone's freedom to think for themselves. You can see why he was a wanted man.
At the end of the day, Spinoza's philosophy doesn't really offer easy answers. Instead, it leaves us with a really deep and challenging question to chew on. If our real freedom comes from understanding the causes that make us who we are, what does it truly mean to be free in a world that is constantly pushing and pulling us in a million different directions? Maybe true freedom isn't about getting to do whatever you feel like. Maybe it's about the much harder, lifelong work of understanding why you feel like it in the first place.